his government is going to accelerate efforts to review every person added to this country over the last 20 years, or the last 4 years, all 20 million. Now, obviously, if you're illegal, you're out automatically. But everybody else who is brought here, refugee, asylum status, whatever status, as he said, if you're not someone who loves this country, if you're not adding benefit to this country, then we're going to send you out of this country. Because it's enough already. No one else has to die. No one else has to be murdered. No one else has to be shot. No more empty seats are needed at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table because of what Democrats have done to this country. So tonight we heard from a commander-in-chief a historic announcement, a brave announcement, exactly what his government is going to accelerate.
And that's a replay. How is it going out there, my fellow world patriots? Time is a-flying, and it is already December 1st, 2025. And so this was a highly pixelated video of Stephen Miller, and that was a couple days ago. The past 12 hours, President Trump has paused all third world immigration, called for deporting millions of illegals and legal immigrants who hate America, stopped all funding to South Africa for targeting white farmers. And of course, that is what we had voted for. But before we get into too much of the show stuff, let's bring in my wonderful co-host, Miss Lisa and Mr. Mac. And Lisa from across the pond, how's everything going over there in the Queen of the North, Northern England? How you doing there?
Good, very good, thank you. And looking forward to the show. A lot of things going on in the UK. As expected, but very interested in what President Trump's doing with immigration and nationality, and just wish they would implement the same over here. We've got the same going on, you know, exactly the same, but just at a smaller scale, because obviously we're a smaller place. But yeah, we could do with a bit of that side of President Trump over here, you know, like yesterday.
Definitely. Well, yeah, and it's a little worse as far as, you know, your guys less freedom of speech than we have over here, because you might get a knock on the friggin' door by the cops for a friggin' online post, which is, you know, pretty amazing to hear that, you know, they're doing this stuff nowadays. But Mr. Max, sir, how's it going? How's the week? How's your comfort level? What's up?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. For those that celebrated, sorry, Lisa. I had a very good feast. But looking forward to the show. Thanks for having us as usual. Thanks to the mods, and thanks to everybody that usually tunes in. And yeah, let's get this going. I'm ready.
Let's rock this party. So we had a little bit of a warning. Was this the one I'm trying to get up? Let me see here. So make sure I'm not blocking the screen for the folks here. So this was a few days ago, not official Homeland Security account. Tonight you have been warned. But guess what? There's a lot of action going on over there. And at the end of the day, is it really Venezuela that we're after? I think you had dropped the video of Chanel Rion. Was that you, Mac, that dropped the Chanel video? So
it's like, it's very interesting. There's a lot of different things going around, and I think listening to her, and then there's some other, I think, components as well that we'll talk about here. So of who's actually behind this, because it does seem very strange. Doesn't everyone feel like it's a little odd, this whole thing playing out?
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's a almost 6 minute clip, but we're going to play about a minute, maybe minute and a half of this. But I think it's good to kind of set the table, because remember, guys, when it looks like, you know, we may be after a certain country or whatever, and there may be other countries behind said country. So let's take a listen here quick.
The Qataris are the left hand of China, and Venezuela confirms it. America is 8 weeks into a military campaign against Venezuela and Colombia. And as I've said before, this is just a cover story. Yes, we're taking out narco-terrorists and making socialist dictators quake. But really, this is an all-out war against communist China and China's grip on the weakest chains in our hemisphere. China owns Venezuela. $60 billion in debt with every port controlled by China. Doesn't take a genius to figure that out. But a new angle of the story has just emerged. So whenever you hear Qatar, think China. In an exclusive report by the Miami Herald, we learned that earlier this year, the Qataris were neck deep trying to mediate a more acceptable regime change in Venezuela. Team Trump rejected it. Listen to this. According to the Herald, the Venezuelan Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, and her brother, Jorge, the President of the National Assembly, quietly lobbied Washington, presenting themselves as the more acceptable alternative to Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro. They funneled these proposals through the Qataris. The Qataris presented the U.S. with two formal proposals, one in April, one in September. The pitch was this. The Rodriguez siblings were not associated with narco-terrorists. They could continue a smooth transition, and they'd do this peacefully, all while giving Maduro asylum in Turkey or Qatar. Secretary of State Rubio and President Trump took two glances at this deal and said, absolutely not. This was just Maduro China light. Trump was not being fooled. Turns out, when Trump was turning up the heat on Venezuela earlier this year, the Qataris intensified their lobbying efforts in the United States on behalf of Caracas. You see, U.S. officials have accused Qatar of providing shelter for Venezuelan dirty money, especially the dirty money of the ruling elite. Vice President Delcy Rodriguez maintains, according to the Herald, a significant relationship with members of the Qatari royal family, and it is with them she hides assets. Why does she hide assets? Well, she's not as detached from the cartels as the Qataris have presented her.
And just remember, guys, the Qataris have been funding a lot of people. And, wasn't that them who gave us an Air Force One that we'll have to kind of reconstruct, from bare bones to make sure there's nothing inside of it. But not only that, but they've been, they've had their hand meddling in the politics of the United States for quite some time. But in addition to that, you have, Venezuelans over there. Do we have communists going on? There's a lot of talk as well of their connections to possibly Cuba as well. And I don't ever go out searching for either of these two guys, but Alex Jones and the guy who used to own that, Patrick Byrne, I think it was, they were talking about it, essentially saying that Maduro over there is ready to flee, and essentially saying that if he does, that the cartels will kill him, essentially, because they'd be leaving it in the cartel's hands, essentially, if he were to flee. So I don't think it's solely, it's just my opinion. I'm not a big world politic guy, but my opinion, it's never the big or never the country that we're saying that we're going after. It always seems like it's other countries backing these countries, and it appears that Venezuela is backed by quite a few different countries as well. So Mac, I don't know if you wanted to maybe go first, and then we'll switch it up next time. If you want to add anything to this discussion, go for it, my man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just find it very interesting. Well, you mentioned Cuba. Cuba relies heavily on Venezuela to survive. If you look at geographically, Venezuela is pretty darn close to the United States, and so it would be essentially a start of a proxy war in Venezuela. So whoever controls Venezuela, the cartels and this terror cartel, I think that it's been being called. I found an interesting clip today from an interview, but maybe we'll get to that in a second. But they're just all these intricate components that are working together, and a lot of money. A lot of it was American taxpayer money that was funding it, and now we're seeing these hidden layers that we weren't able to really see before, and that's, I think, also due to President Trump's leadership in attacking this full on. The drug war has been something that's been ongoing for my entire life, and I know it's been going on before that. So it was a losing battle. I think we declared that we lost that war, and come to find out, I forget who actually said it. Maybe it was McAfee. Said that the CIA was basically the largest drug dealers in the world. So
they sure are,
amongst other things.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and it's it's much bigger in the background, and I think the funding is where they're attacking because they realize if these guys don't have the funding, then essentially they can't do as much stuff. So you got the NGOs kind of out of the way a little bit with the Doge, and as Mac had mentioned last week, we have Republican states doing the Doge as well, perhaps going after the taxes. But then what's another big one on that? Just like Mac had mentioned, the drugs. Like that is huge. Just I can't even imagine, Lisa. Can you imagine how big their black budget is? Just like not put everything else aside that they do wrong, but just the drugs that they funnel throughout the world. Like that black budget must be huge. But any comments on that at all?
Yeah. If you go back a few years, you remember that when President Trump was first in office, that Venezuela was strapped for cash. And then all of a sudden, the Biden administration came in. So now it's making a little bit more sense to me, like China Biden. So we know that China has a great connection and has been kind of covertly funding Venezuela. But also, so did Biden, because Biden lifted the sanctions on Venezuela and started buying oil from Venezuela, if you remember. So he depleted America's kind of stocks on oil. I can't remember what you call it. And then he started buying oil from Venezuela, which meant that Maduro was making a whole heap of money. And they did make it very expensive. And then that oil, which was like tar, was then refined in Texas. Does anybody remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It was in Houston, Texas. President Trump always said it, or he said it multiple times. So, yeah, I was just about to add that. Go ahead.
Yes. So you had that going on. Apparently, President Trump has okayed a covert CIA operation, because aside from, having or being big on drugs, the CIA are very much involved in changing regimes. I think they tried it in Mexico, Libya, Colombia, all over the place.
Yeah, there's definitely history in the CIA and trying to infiltrate Venezuela. I'll look for a couple examples. Go ahead, Lisa.
No, that's it really. If you remember, Iran Contra as well.
Same.
Well, that embraces everything that we're talking about right now. But I just the Biden situation comes to mind. China Biden. So Biden paid by the Chinese, and then he basically rescued Venezuela.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost a carbon copy. I want to say carbon copy, but it's a very similar example of what they did in Iran, right? Like Trump gets in, he's like, yeah, we're shutting down the New Deal. We're not signing up for that. Biden comes back in. Oh, hey, Venezuela, you don't have any money lately. Let's help you out. Oh, Iran, let's help you guys out again. So it's like, yeah, it's like one side's trying to do the right thing and the other side's trying to bolster up their coffers for money so they can do their operations against, the American people and the people of the world. This was funny. From real Donald Trump, apparently. Let's see here. We got a real verified account here. 45th and 47th president on 29th of November says, to all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider and this is all capital letters, the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. I mean, that is huge. But again, it's all about getting the funding away from the people that are inevitably going to be attacking us. These stupid operations that they have, their connections to all these people, the CIA. We'll get into Slotkin a little bit later and her connections to the Afghani people. But I think we may have touched on it last week. Like she predicted literally, by my estimation, we're about a month away from an attack. Oh, wow. Nostradamus over there, nailed it within 2 weeks. Like absolutely amazing. Mac, did you find something you want me to pick up or pull up?
It's just I can screenshot it for you. Sure. It's
I got an interesting CIA linked story as well to show you guys.
But essentially, well, there was a coup plot that was alleged that the CIA tried in 2002 for Hugo Chavez.
Wouldn't
But
doubt it.
I think it's that second paragraph I just sent in the chat.
Pick it up here. Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Back. Hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving out there.
I think there's a couple clues in here too.
What do we got here? What am I doing? What's my computer's acting really weird. It's like laggy here. All right, here we go. Want me to read this or the second paragraph?
Second paragraph, I think.
All right, we got the involvement of the CIA in Venezuela is not new. Declassified documents and investigations have showed that the agency was aware of coup plotting against former President Hugo Chavez weeks before the April 2002 coup that briefly removed him from power. While U.S. officials, including Ambassador William Brownfield, claim the embassy had warned Chavez about the coup plot, other evidence suggests U.S.-funded organizations like the National Endowment for Democracy provided millions of dollars to opposition groups involved in the coup. Despite official denials, critics argue that U.S. support for opposition sectors contributed to the destabilization of Venezuela's democratic institutions. Oh boy, isn't that the area, the originating country where Smartmatic came out of too? I think it was under Hugo Chavez, if I'm not mistaken, which I very well might be.
I'd have to look into that, but you could be very well right.
Pretty sure that's just memory.
That's true. That's true.
Now, another little point is that the Venezuela and Colombia are huge, obviously, cocaine traffickers. So they tried to coup him in 2022. Chavez and Maduro was then handed the baton, and they're saying that he's the head of the terror organization, and he's obviously getting funding through various ways from these powerful countries. I wouldn't be surprised if you throw Iran in the mix on that in the background too. They're saying I think there's an island off the coast that they train Iranian soldiers, which is crazy.
I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt anything at this point here. Lisa, anything else you want to add before I go to like the next clip or anything else?
No, you're welcome.
Alrighty. So I pulled this one up. This is actually pretty damn. This is only a few hours old. And I always liked kind of this guy's work, but he always seemed to write pretty good. So he's talking about a little bit about Ratcliffe and stuff, and about how they're doing a dangerous situation here. And I look at that as a good thing, right? So when we're not hearing and seeing, a certain person on TV all the time, like Blondie, right? It's like, oh, what's Pam Blondie doing? Well, she's on Fox News today, but what about arrests and stuff? Well, I don't know. Ratcliffe is playing a close hand and a dangerous game, and I tend to think he is for real. Very few Americans know what really goes on backstage at the CIA, but just say they try to whack the director. That would be the checkmate on them. The agency would not survive the arrest of its personnel. And anyway, Mr. Trump is moving swiftly now to shut down the engine of its nefarious activities. The CIA, you understand, is the beating heart of the deep state. Democratic Party and the Never Trump rhinos are its errand boys. And that's why a 10-year-long coup has been running to smash Trump and Trumpism. Joe Biden, or quote Joe Biden, was a piece of furniture thrown out of the truck that the CIA was driving to escape the scene of the crime. Quote, Joe Biden was under threat of blackmail the whole 4 years he haunted the Oval Office, having run his own petty racketeering operation to keep his miserable extended sick family in beach houses. Mr. Trump is now striking at the apparatus of the CIA's extra-constitutional power and influence, the election interference machinery that queers politics at home and abroad, and the drug cartel that furnishes the money to run CIA's many black ops, finances the NGOs behind lawfare and gay communist street action, and probably underlies many a congressional fortune. That's why the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier group is lurking offshore in Venezuela. That is why Venezuela's airspace is shut down and why Maduro is rumored to be fleeing to points unknown in his Gulfstream jet. While you're carving your turkey, Mr. Trump was preparing to go medieval on Maduro's $1.5 trillion Cartel del Sol operation, of which the Mexican cartels are mere subalterns. Shoveling drugs into the demoralized U.S. population ruined by the campaign that moved productive industry to China and gainful employment with it. Mr. Trump hinted that U.S. forces are going into Caracas very soon, apparently to seize Smartmatic servers, cartel drug leaders, and other evidence of long-running turpitude. And you have to wonder how many someones out of Langley with names, titles, and offices will turn up in the mix. And I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'll maybe read another paragraph or two because it's very interesting. And he says, Mr. Ratcliffe must know who they are by now. Some of them have been at it since the cowboy days of Mena, Arkansas, back when Bill Clinton was governor, and the cocaine planes from Colombia were landing day after day on that little backwater airstrip. The cartels had to switch to boats lately, and we see how that's been working out. Is it not amazing that the Democrat Party mouthpieces object to Mr. Trump blowing them up? They'd rather see another 10,000 unemployed citizens die of fentanyl poisoning in Meigs County, Ohio. The Blob's errand boys and girls in Congress made their lame divisionary move on November 18th with a seditious 6 video, an attempt to stir up mutiny in the military ranks. It backfired badly. It looks like the Department of War is going to make an example of MaQaveli, because he was the only veteran among the 6 who served long enough to qualify for mandatory reenlistment and thus be subject to military justice outside the control of the blob-run D.C. federal district judges like Jeb Boasberg. So I think we can cap it right there. But Lisa, it sounds, by the reading of this guy who does, pretty good research, it seems like President Trump is there to kind of do exactly what we wanted, right? Like they even mentioned in there, Smartmatic servers, cartel drug leaders, and other evidence and whatnot. But I think the key there may be the Smartmatic servers. I mean, they would be stupid not to destroy them or alter them by now. But any thoughts on, anything I just read or anything else?
Oh, I agree with the servers, but also the fentanyl as well. Because it seems to me like Maduro is like maybe not the head of the cartels, but certainly a giant cog within their machinery to enable them to do the trafficking. I would think so. Or he's now stuck because he is literally in the middle of all of that, Because with all of the sanctions against Venezuela, then how are they going to get money? Well, it's probably due to, trafficking,
Loving it. I'm loving it.
It's quite a big country, I would think. So I'm not sure how easy it is to invade Venezuela with it being so big, Yeah,
we don't want another Afghanistan for sure, but
No.
yeah, they definitely need to do something because, like we mentioned before, they're all mixed up with all these other countries. Venezuela, Cuba, Qatar, China, probably Iran as well. But Mac, anything out of there? I mean, there was so much inside there. He's talking about, these people going back to the days of Mena, Arkansas, and we know they probably went back a lot further than that as well.
Yeah, this has got a lot of interesting information, and reading this, the Q Post 4521 came to mind when everything you were witnessing, past and present. If you want to read it, you can. I won't take your glory there. And it just it makes you wonder how far this goes back. I mean, it is a diabolical plan because Venezuela was helping rig the U.S. elections. The CIA helped rig elections in South America. We know that at least, in other countries. Who's pulling the strings behind the scenes in this to attack the United States? And obviously Venezuela, like I said, seems to be the proxy of it all. So we're funneling these people out of the way so that we're seeing the layer. I'm curious because Maduro is wanted as a criminal, and Trump is giving him some time here, an ultimatum essentially. But what happens if he leaves? And then the U.S. is going to go in and take out who? The cartels, right?
Yeah, I guess
Well,
that would be left to them. But go ahead, Lisa.
I think hasn't President Trump said something about supporting somebody else as the leader of Venezuela? I can't remember his name, but there's somebody else that would be, kind of more aligned with, let's say, the views of the USA. I can't remember his name, but there's somebody else, isn't there?
Yes, they don't recognize Maduro as the current president of Venezuela, and they recognize the other person. So I think it's a woman almost, but I don't remember.
Oh, you're gonna love this one too, guys. And actually, let me read this quick because this is one of my favorite posts. I think this is one where he's talking about, somebody tried to put an amendment into HR 7297 to prohibit the use of armed forces under the jurisdiction of Secretary of Military Department as a posse comitatus or otherwise to execute the laws and for other purposes. Oh, Adam Schiff tried to put that in. What is Adam Schiff trying to hide? I think he says. What is Adam Schiff trying to prevent? So basically, at the end of the day, everything you are witnessing, past, present, and future, in the box here, centrally revolves around the presidential election of 2020. And so I think that's not over yet as well. And I think they got more information on that stuff as well. So yeah, if they get the servers like the original servers, I don't know how they would be stupid enough to leave them, in their correct state as they are, fraudulent, but maybe they are. Who knows? We'll see how this goes out. Lisa?
Yeah, there's an interesting connection between George Soros and Venezuela that has been going on for a long time. He's been funding NGOs in Venezuela. He's got an interest in the banks in Venezuela and also property. I think that's pretty interesting. The Open Society, they finance the non-governmental organizations in Venezuela, quite big ones. And he's supported, I think, also the Ford Foundation and the British Embassy. Anyway, he's got quite a lot of interest in there, and it goes back a while, And so with all of those interests, you've got to wonder what happens or what happened when the sanctions, did that affect his relationship with Venezuela? And then, Smartmatic, Dominion, we know that he used to own Dominion because they had offices in Canada on the same floor as him. And Moloch Brown, as I call him, who became the chairman of the Open Society Foundation, who used to run Dominion. Remember him? Wow. So somebody, Moloch Brown, who looks like the devil.
Lord Moloch.
Yes. So I just wonder about that particular connection, influencing the elections.
Well, what do you guys make of this? We'll go with you first, Lisa, and then just shoot it to Matt quick. If this is true global surveillance, which I think, I would tend to believe that it is, but China officials say regime change in Venezuela is unacceptable as Trump calls Maduro to step down or military operations will kick off. Why is he so concerned about what's going on between the United States and Venezuela? I bet you he's not worried about us, right?
If you own all the ports in Venezuela, and then you also own all of the ports in somewhere like Jamaica, you've got that route for the drugs, which is South America, the Caribbean, and then over the southern border in the United States of America. That's pretty interesting. Yes?
Hop, skip, and a jump.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the Suez Canal, you had the Panama Canal, and then now you have this area for shipping that we've had going on.
Wow. Oh, dude, and at the end of that article I was just reading, it mentioned and talked about the seditious six. and I forget what the other name that these the Honorable Six or whatever the Democrats are trying to portray him as. But listen to this stuff. We already asked Alyssa Slotkin. Remember, she said, by my estimation, we're about a month away from a tragic shooting. Well, yeah, 2 weeks later, it happened. She was also asked, hey, you made that video about illegal orders. Are you aware of any illegal orders President Trump has given? Well, I'm not aware of anything illegal, but there certainly has been some legal gymnastics being going on. And all right, so exactly, nothing illegal. How about you, Mark Kelly? This is where the chickens come home to roost, in my opinion.
Sort of flimsy legality that was being offered during the briefings. Were these sort of strikes that are now in the news what you were making reference to when you posted that video telling members of the military that they needed to feel okay just obeying orders that they felt were illegal?
Based on who this president is and who the Secretary of Defense is, and specifically things that the president has said in the past and things he was talking about doing in the future. Let me give you an example. 2016, he's talking about something on a debate stage that was clearly illegal. And he was reminded by Brett Baer from Fox News that that would be an illegal order. Military won't do that. You know what the president's response was to that? The military will not refuse my orders. Implying that even if they are illegal, they will not refuse them. He's also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. Then he's talking about deploying more troops to American cities and using those cities as training grounds. You know what that means? That means using the American people for the military to train on. So we were looking forward to try to head something off at the pass that could have been really, really bad. So it wasn't about this specific thing.
Oh, he just shot himself in both of his feet. I mean, oh, Mac, this is what it's all about, right? Like, their hope is that the average person will just go, oh, Trump must be out there giving illegal orders. This is horrible. And just forward it away, right? But
yeah, and I also think there's some sort of underlying language going on here. And it just sounds like he's a little butthurt about rules of engagement. President Trump changed from Department of Defense to Department of War. So strategically, we've realigned our military, and our rules of engagement are back to where they were, I think, previously. And that's a big relief. And he is scared because he's part of the enemy, and he doesn't want the military to tear everybody apart. Because we know that the Biden-Harris plan was immigrating all these illegal immigrants in to vote in elections, to put extra congressmen in, to basically control our government without firing a shot. And that by doing that would complete, their takeover, and then they could just rinse and repeat ongoing and just get everybody out, weed them out. So I feel like we're seeing them panicking a lot here, and I'm curious why he's still able to talk, or what's going on with the military as far as investigating him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it comes out, if they do bring him up on charges or whatever. But it's just one of these stupid things that leads to the possibility of confusion, and that confusion could cause somebody their lives, right, Lisa?
Yep, like it has been. But I think Pete Hegseth has already come out and said something. They are investigating him. But the thing is, you might as well let him hang himself. He can continue. I think military tribunals are pretty swift. It's like just an hour,
really quick.
Yeah. So I would allow him. I would just allow him. They've already spoken. The Seditious Six, their first broadcast was broadcast like absolutely everywhere. So there's no stopping it. I would let him continue and just hang himself. And I think the more that he speaks, the more that he's doing that, the more that he's guilty. And like you say, Mike, it just shows his desperation, Go ahead.
Do you think they're also trying to get President Trump to overreact so they can blow it up and try to impeach him again and do all
Always.
I-
Always.
that?
I
Yeah.
think-
You think that's the main one? For some reason, I feel like they're so desperate. That's what they're trying to do.
I think they kind of look upon President Trump like I think in psychology they call it transference, when somebody transfers, their own kind of personality and character onto somebody else, and it's like, do you really think that he's that stupid? It's like sounds to me like everything that President Trump is doing is pretty well thought out. Yes, and it's also a step up from whatever he did in 2016. And as he says, he knows more now, and he's definitely standing solidly, I would say. So he is using the law as it should be used. And you can refer to like the Immigration and Nationality Act. They all said, "Oh, that's illegal what you're doing with the illegals," and it's like, no, it's not. And with Maduro, I think the rest of some of the rest of the world has been saying, "Oh, well, is it legal what he's doing?" and stuff like that. And it's like, well, actually, he has a duty to protect Americans. And if you just think about the effect of something like fentanyl and how many people it kills per year, it's like, well, Matt, doesn't that bring in Directive 51 about if American life is threatened? And it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't have to be on American soil. It can be anywhere in the world. And sorting out places like Venezuela, as you said, they're like proxies for anybody that's attacking America. They don't always do it directly; they do it indirectly.
Absolutely. And this short video here talks a little bit about what Mac had mentioned about as far as redistricting or playing games with the voters and voter rolls and stuff, or essentially just loading up certain areas that may be I wouldn't say historically red, but that are red and that they want to change to blue, for example. Like, I don't know, Florida?
This is your Miami-Dade Minute.
Today is a very important time for us to welcome the Afghan refugees who've come into our community. We know that as a nation, we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude. These are families that supported us during the war effort, translators, security officers, transportation, everything that was needed. And their families now in peril in Afghanistan. So we are proud to be able to host at this time 500 families. And there are a number of agencies here to support them, to be situated. And this is about rolling out the welcome mat and letting them know that we're here to help.
We are a very inclusive community. We welcome them with our open arms. We want to make sure.
So we got a bunch of people, in just this one Dade County, Miami-Dade County, a lot of Afghanistan's coming in there, and then you wonder how many of them went to other areas. Like, I don't think they just said, "Oh, we'll put them on the plane and we'll just, drop them wherever and we'll figure it out later." Like, I bet you they thought about this ahead of time and said, we're going to have some people go to maybe this area in Florida. They're certainly not going to send them to any straight up blue states, because what would be the point, right? But they finding their ways to load up the voter rolls with other people, and then others that are not vetted as well. Like, a lot of these people were not vetted, especially like the person that allegedly worked with Slotkin there, the CIA dude that shot the 2 National Guard people. Like, he was part of this group essentially that was like an elite group working in, I think they said Kandahar or something like that, for 10 years or so. So you had some of these people that were soldiers alongside of us, and then you had other people that were interpreters and whatnot. But allegedly, a lot of these people got like a good vetting, if anything, on their way in, which is a very scary proposition. Whoever's unmuted, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the guy that, killed the National Guard. it was said that they always do this after the fight, and they're going, "Oh well, we knew he was suffering from mental health problems, and he used to disappear for weeks on end, and he didn't attend certain appointments that were key to him being in, his immigration status." And it's like, well, from the moment that he doesn't attend whatever appointments, then something should be wrong, or something should be a red flag, because if somebody really does want to be a citizen, then you do what you need to do. But yeah, just interesting, they're coming out with all of these excuses now and saying that, oh, he was affected by the war and all of that, and it's like, yeah, but people like that you keep an eye on, disappearing for weeks on end. And I don't think Washington was the only place that he used to drive to. I don't know. There was thousands of people because of those planes. I remember there was thousands of people. There's no way that they were all vetted because it was who could get on the plane. If I remember rightly, that was it. If you got on that plane, you got on that plane.
And they overloaded the crap out of it. It said error on the side of like excess rather than vetting, like the emails we're talking about that. Mac, anything else you want to mention on what I just played there as far as the shipping in people from other countries to help with the voting for Democrats or anything else?
Oh, just that, yeah, they weren't vetted at all. They're essentially illegal immigrants that the Biden administration allowed to occur. So there was no vetting. They just welcomed everybody in with open arms, and it was a huge human trafficking operation.
And here was the guy right here, Amy Mack. This guy, she did good reporting on this. Kandahar Strike Force. With Kandahar starts with a Q. Just making that notation. Not saying that's anything related, but QSF, Kandahar Strike Force. And this is the guy, Ramanuela or whatever. Blood type A positive. Okay. But yeah, that was him now. And now, so we got basically the reasoning behind it. Europe's cocaine boom runs through Venezuela and the jihadist networks. Cocaine seizures in Europe have now surpassed those in North America. Cartels in Venezuela are teaming up with jihadist groups in West Africa to traffic record volumes of cocaine into Europe. Supply chain, sophisticated, brutal, and booming. Cocaine from Colombia smuggled into Venezuela, where it's loaded onto fishing boats, private jets, and submarines, which we've seen. From there, it heads to countries like Guinea-Bissau and Burkina Faso, where extremist groups provide protection for a cut. Drugs then travel north across the Sahara through lawless corridors in Mali, Algeria, Libya, before being shipped into Spain, Portugal, and beyond. Each step is greased by corruption and powered by chaos. In some cases, traffickers bribe air traffic controllers to turn off radar while planes slip through African airspace. Spanish police recently busted 13 members, and this is what this video, I believe, down below is. Spanish police busted 13 members of Venezuela's Tren de Aragua gang. In the past year alone, seizures of multi-ton shipments near the Canary Islands and in Ireland have exposed just how deeply entrenched this route has become. This isn't just drug trafficking, it's a growing alliance of cartels, militants, and rogue states with Europe as the final stop. So this is
and also illegal migration kind of integrated with it. Like, think about the places that they mentioned and look at the map on illegal migration, Remember what they did to Libya? Hillary Clinton, so Libya was just pure lawlessness, a serious kind of base for trafficking. And then they go from Libya to somewhere like Italy. But when they mentioned Ireland, there was a family, I think they were called Kinahan. I have mentioned them before, and they got involved with South American cartels and were shipping literally ships full of drugs over to Ireland, and also Spain was involved too. Spain's always been this place where Brits go who, are doing things illegal, especially drug traffickers,
Wow. Yeah, and we've definitely, and I'll pull one up now here as well. Mac, anything else you want to add to this one here?
No, I'm good.
good to go. All right, let's see. Video published. All right, I'm just gonna pull this one. It's just the first one that I found. I didn't have this link for the show, so I'm just pulling this up as we go. This video published by the Judicial Police of Portugal shows the interior and exterior of a huge narco submarine that was seized in international waters. It was with the engine stopped and adrift when it was boarded. It was transporting 1,700 kilograms of cocaine, which is what, a kilo's 2 pounds or a little bit more than 2 pounds. So 3,400 pounds of cocaine from Venezuela to España. And this is, how many of these, submarines come over before, well, when we rephrase it, how many of these make it versus how many they send over? Do they send 100 and we caught, oh my God, we caught one, but 99 got through or 98 got through? I feel like it's probably more likely that a lot more get through than get caught, but that's just one girl's opinion. Mac, Lisa, anything on that? I know I just pulled that up, but anything else you wanted to add to that? Because we will be moving along to another little segment. Okay, looks like you guys are good.
I think it just shows the sophistication, the sophisticated level that they're at in like the 21st century. It's no longer somebody on a rowing boat. You've got these, pretty amazing technology. Submarine.
No kidding. Hey, actually, you know what? I'm going to do this with you guys live as we go here. Did you ever? I know you guys have. Let me see. I'm gonna do a search here. I'm gonna do a search on the drops here, and I'm checking support. I think it went open side support, and then NC. Okay, let's see. Do this. I just wanted to. I came to an epiphany the other day because I know a few people have been looking at some of these things, right? And throughout the years, people have had different guesses as to what they think that these mean. So this is the one that I'm talking about here. Class 1 through 12, right? And then I think there's more down here. Yeah, this is why I brought it up, right? Class 1 through 9. So some people were saying originally like classified. I'd always gone with the estimation that they meant congressmen or senators. Are you guys in the same boat as me? Mac, we'll go with first, I guess. I don't know if you ever said yes. I'm pretty sure I believe I know what this class 1 through 12 is or not.
I thought it was classified at first, but I think it has to do with something different. I'm trying to look it up right now, but I don't know if I'm gonna come across anything. Because there's one that says class 1 through 99. So is that indictments? That was one guess. So yeah. I don't know. Lisa, you have any guess?
I think I got the right answer. I think I do. But
go ahead, Special.
Well, I was doing a show the other day when I was showing some of my older videos, and I even did some older pre-Q videos, like the Federal Reserve and stuff like that. But then I came up to this post when I was looking for things, and I'm like, I think originally back then, and I think I've held to this the whole time, that I believe this to be classes of senators or Congress. And the reason I say that is because we do know that they do have different classes of senators, like say this class gets in on this year, and then they have to get revoted on this year or whatever. But if you also notice, right here it talks about support. CS, Chucky Schumer, NP, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff. Now Schiff was a congressman, Pelosi was a congresswoman at the time. Schiff is now a senator. Pelosi is, I think she's still there, but just about to be retired. And Chucky Schumer is a senator, right? And has always been a senator, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I kind of went support CS, and then it says comma, and then it says, oh, class 1. So we have some people from class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5, class 6. And what you mentioned up there earlier, would you say 1 to 99 or something like that, Mac? 1 to 99 would, for me, it would mean 1 through 99 meaning senators, because you have 100 and it's closest to 100. That would be my one guess. I don't know if that's right, but that's what I'm going with. Lisa, do you want to add or subtract anything from that? That's just an opinion piece here.
To add there.
Yeah, it's just an opinion piece on that one. So I just wanted to get that one out because I believe that to be correct. I think they're talking about classes of senators. And Remember, they told us about this stuff in 2017, all these initials and all this, that, and the other about the whole spy op at the latest December 22nd. And this one in particular had to do with the DNC breach of that was directed, or excuse me, the cleanup operation of killing Seth Rich, S-Rich 187 murder code here, MS-13. Two of them, 187 is a code for murder, directed by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So this is all about the DNC breach and Seth Rich. And so they told us about this stuff well ahead of time. Well ahead of time. Okay, what's next on the agenda here? All right, let's see, which way should we go?
Bayshot, you could be onto something with it being in the Senate. So they're divided into three classes of stagger elections, with approximately 1/3 of the seats up for election every 2 years. The system ensures that not all 100 Senate seats are connected at the same time, promoting stability and allowing for continuous deliberation. So just wanted to add that.
Yes, I like it. I like it. All right, this, and so you got to kind of go back in time here, guys, right? Like, what happened when, not bashing on Lisa and her country there, but, we left that country for, what was it, a 2% or a 3% tax or something like that? So you got to think, like, what got people so riled up to the point where they were going to have, like, a revolution? And I'm not telling anybody to go to the streets and whatnot, but I am saying, like, when is enough to where they have to highlight, like, do they need to have it in blinking lights in Times Square for people to understand, like, what's going on? So here's a little warning from Republican Tim Burchett.
Yeah, we've got a huge problem, and we know it. I mean, these folks are here; they're military age, and we've got to address it. And I don't, legislation. Look, Congress can't get out of their own way. It just takes too long. Let's just be honest, both parties. I mean, and somebody asked me why we do that, Burchett, and I said, by tradition, of course. I mean, that's just our tradition, just to drag our heels. And the K Street lobbyists. Look, one thing you got to remember too is, who's funding these groups when they get here? Yeah. A lot of these groups are funded through NGOs. And NGOs, non-government organization, that's a poor name for them because you're American tax dollars. In Afghanistan alone, we know of at least 1,000 that are funded through American NGOs. And then if you add the United Nations, which is another disaster, it's a calamity waiting to happen. And I agree. These folks are everywhere. It needs to be, legislation is great, but we need an executive order, I think, to jump in on this thing in a hurry, because Congress will, again, wants to drag its feet, and then we'll be looking at another bright, shiny object down the street next week.
Yeah. Congressman, in terms of where we go from here, is Congress going to launch any sort of investigation looking into Operation Allies Welcome going forward, and how things came to be this way in the United States?
Ma'am, I'm sure we'll launch several investigations, and we'll write somebody a very strong letter. Again, we've got a commander-in-chief that gets it, and Congress never gets it. It's just too drug out. The Republicans have a 3 or 4 person lead, and we're one flu season away from really losing the republic, because the left, which is the Democrat Party, is not your granddad's Democrats anymore. These people are Marxists. They're openly against our country. They hate our military. They hate our border patrol. They hate everything about it. And this is just, you can't. They won't even apologize. They won't even say they're sorry that this young lady lost her life in service to our great country. And yet, they're out touting this, and they're out promoting it. They're out promoting. They want people to be to disobey orders from their commander-in-chief. I mean, it's kind of a...
I'll stop him right there. It's kind of a panic situation for me, and especially when I'm starting to see... I'm actually loving this. If I can find this, here we go. Have you guys seen any of this today? This is absolutely hilarious. Trump claims Ilhan Omar should be thrown the hell out of the country. Let's take a little listen here. Come on. Come on, YouTube.
Telling everybody about our Constitution.
Fair use, YouTube. Fair use.
And yet she supposedly came into our country by marrying her brother. Well, if that's true, she shouldn't be a congressman, and we should throw her the hell out of our country.
Right? Does anybody disagree with that one? Do you disagree with that, Mac? I didn't think
not
you would
at all.
disagree.
I voted for that right there.
Well, let me play this one, then we'll get your comment and Lisa's comment. You guys are gonna love this. You're gonna love this 17-second video from the lady who married her husband or her, I don't know what you saw. She married her brother. Okay.
I mean, I have no worry. I don't know how they take away my citizenship and like deport me, but I don't even know like why that's such a scary threat. Like, I'm not the 8-year-old who escaped war anymore. I'm grown. My kids are grown. Like, I can go live wherever.
Me and my brother, we already had the 2 children. They're older than that now. I mean, so she don't care, Lisa. She says, "Hey, get me out of here. Then I'm cool." Well, guess what? I would donate for that one. I would donate for the plane ticket for her to go back to wherever the hell she wants to go to. But as long as she gets out of here and out of our Congress, because it looks to me, Lisa, like she might be in a little bit of hot water with all of this fraud from the Somali culture and country, where they were doing a lot of fraud on our country. But before we get to that stuff, any comments on this and President Trump, what he's saying and appearing to do?
Oh, I think he's telling the truth. No, it has been proven that she married her brother, and to kind of stay in the country. You know, I don't know how she entered the country, but she's saying that she's an American citizen. But it doesn't mean that can't be taken away. I think using the 14th Amendment or something like that. You know, she doesn't seem to like America at all, and seems to be attacking everything, including the Constitution, when I hear her speak. You know, so we'll see what happens. Don't know what's going to happen. And then yes, the corruption, you know, in her state. Is it Minneapolis? Is that where she's from?
Yeah, the state is Minnesota, but yes, she is from the Minneapolis area, I believe.
Well, unfortunately, today a judge just overturned a taxpayer $7.2 million fraud conviction, and it was a scam by the Somalis. You know,
wow,
in her state. So that was today. So you've got this. You've got the fact that they found. I'm just trying to send you the article. £1 billion of fraud, wasn't it? Tim, is that Tim Walsh's country or
yes,
state?
Yes, absolutely.
So, you know, under his watch, that they had this kind of, I think it was like food program or something, and they've had all this fraud going on. And these people, you know, they were convicted by the jury after, I think it was about 4 hours, and a judge just overturned it, literally. Wow. So that is, and it's a really young judge. I think her last name is West. I don't know what's going to happen there. I think an appeal has been put in, but that is ridiculous. And it's sounding a bit like the UK, you know. It's like charges are brought, and then you get these woke judges that are turning things around, you know? I think you're looking at the European Court of Human Rights kind of overseeing everything, where it's like for any excuse you can get off a charge, you know? Any excuse.
Big time. Yeah, I mean, Mac, you had the judge from South Carolina go up to Virginia and, you know, rebut the appointment of Halligan in the case of Comey and Letitia James. But don't worry, we got some news on that one too. But any comments you want to make there before I read this little blurb on this account, which, by the way, was apparently kicked off by X? And this is getting to be a little bit of a kind of a gross place, Mac. Even though when you know how like when you get on and you basically go to the home tab and you have the For You and then the following. So the following is, you know, mostly the people that I follow, and then the For You is just absolutely stacked with like anti-Trump this, anti-Trump that. But now even my following tab, once I scroll through that, it's just as bad as the friggin' For You anti-Trumpers. So I'm seeing a majority of that stuff online. But sorry, go ahead, buddy.
As Elon said, it's a crime scene. So not all the crimes have been completed. I think we're going to find out, as we've said before, and they keep mentioning it. a lot of social media influencers are getting paid foreignly for foreign influence. So to go along with what you're talking about, Minnesota and the Somali fraud scheme, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has a clip today saying that they're going to investigate them.
Nice.
So that
like that.
will put an end to that, and we'll see what the consequences become. But it is bad, and Waltz is completely tied up in it.
Yeah, and we're going to read a little bit of that. All right, and so apparently they're back. We were permanently suspended several hours ago. However, we're back up in no small part due to the support of many of you. So that's what we need to do, guys, out here, which pretty much nobody stood up for us when we all got kicked off of YouTube, which was on the heels of Alex Jones getting deplatformed as well, which, again, not many people, if anything, said anything. But here we go. Minnesota Department of Human Service employees. Tim Waltz is 100% responsible for massive fraud in Minnesota. We let Tim Waltz know of fraud early on, hoping for a partnership in stopping fraud, but no, we got the opposite response. Tim Waltz systematically retaliated against whistleblowers using monitoring, threats, repression, and did his best to discredit fraud reports. Instead of partnership, we got the full weight of retaliation by Tim Waltz, certain DFL members, and indifferent mainstream media. It's scary, isolating, and left us wondering who we can turn to. In addition to retaliating against the whistleblower, Tim Waltz disempowered the Office of the Legislative Auditor, allowing agencies to disregard their audit findings and guidance. Media and politicians supporting Tim Waltz or the DFL agenda attacked whistleblowers who were trying to raise red flags on fraudulent activities. This is a cascade of systemic failures leading up to Tim Waltz. Agency leaders appointed by Tim Waltz willfully disregarded rules and laws to keep fraud reports quiet, even to the extent of threatening families of whistleblowers. These same leaders are not qualified for their jobs, instead getting leadership jobs via Tim Waltz's friendship, though state government were left floundering. DFL lawmakers refused to acknowledge fraud and deflected any serious conversation to stop fraud. Biased mainstream media such as WCCO and NPR showed absolutely no interest in covering fraud happened in our own state. Programs, especially in behavioral health and disability services, were built without any guardrails against fraud, all in an attempt to extract more funding from legislature and the federal government. So the people that were writing this got so much pressure that they somehow got the people on X to kick them offline for a permanent suspension, but apparently permanent suspensions aren't what they used to be, guys, because a lot of us got permanently suspended from Twitter, YouTube, or whatever, but we are back. But this is not looking good for him. And did I have it here? I don't want to give anybody... Yeah. So is this the type of stuff they're talking about, Mac? And so I'm going to read this, guys, and then I'm going to hand it over to you, Mac, and then Lisa, you can comment after that because I have to run upstairs to the boys' room quick. But Somalian convicted of immigration fraud working in Minnesota Sheriff's Office. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, guys. Meet Omar Jamal, a Somalian convicted of immigration fraud who was ordered deported in 2011. But hey, he's now working as a community service officer for the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office in Minnesota. Why is a Somalian convicted of immigration fraud getting paid by our tax dollars to work in law enforcement? So they got a lot of questions to answer over there, and there's a lot of fraud to answer for. And Lisa was right. I think it was Lisa who mentioned it earlier, Mac, about the food programs. Like they'd say, oh, well, we fed 20,000 people today, but it was all made up. Not all of it, but they basically made up businesses saying that they were, feeding people and they would get grant money for it. And we're talking millions of dollars, if not close to $1 billion. So Mac, please take it from there, and then Lisa, jump on after him, and I just need about a good 35, 40 seconds.
Yeah, Lisa, you got anything to add on this?
Just to say that it's something that seems endemic, and it seems like it's, like I was thinking about it earlier. So they brought in like DEI, then they push the racism angle, and then they have the basis for excuses as to why they do things like this. So this isn't the only guy that has been charged that has then been given a great job. Do you remember the one? I think you brought it up, Mike. The guy who was running a school, and he's been arrested. I don't. And in the town they're all campaigning for him to be released. I think he was an illegal migrant. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I do. I don't remember the gentleman's name.
All right, but it's kind of similar, At the moment, Harvard have this guy who I think in October was charged with, he was abusing a Jewish student, like a Jewish first-year student, and there may have been 5 of them, and he's on camera actually doing that. And he was charged and he was given community service and all of that. And then Harvard have employed him into some kind of job as a kind of consultant. So to me, we're seeing a lot more of this where it's not even acknowledged what they've done, or the crime that has been committed. And yet they're still given jobs, and positions where they can earn a lot of money, and it's beyond the ridiculous. I think, really,
I think we're how much closer are we to this precipice of just like cleaning the whole corrupt system out? Because I just feel like it's culminating to that moment, and then they mentioned that too. Was it Pam Bondi mentioned sending the National Guard into every major city, that it's coming? So,
like to hear that.
I know. I feel like what they did in DC, it was amazing. I'm not up to speed on the other ones, but we need that done in all these libtard cities because they just corrupted it. I mean, look at Minnesota. I mean, it's once you let the bad apple in, you let it fester and allow to do whatever, they just bring in the rest of the bad apples. They fester, and it's just the whole thing stinks. It
is, and a lot of these, people talking about prices and things, and groceries in general are not cheap, but some things are, and gas is a lot cheaper. But look at those prices in the blue states versus the Republican states. It's a big difference, unfortunately. But they need to clean up some of these states. And I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I truly, strongly feel like that video that they put out with the Seditious Six was quite telling. Like, I don't think you do that unless you're really, really panicked. And I think you're spot on about what you said too, Mac. It was dual purpose. It's to cause division, but it's also because, like, when we post this, Trump's going to go nuclear on it, right? And then it's never what they did. It's always what he said to what they said. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he said this, and he never really said, these senators need to be killed. He just said, hey, sedition is, punishable by death. And, if you're feeling guilty, I guess the shoe fits, right? So it's amazing to me. What was Trump's biggest roadblock, do you guys think? First admit. I think I kind of knew the answer before it was coming, but we got about a minute here. Let's listen to about a minute. Full minute now.
Good evening, Mr. President, and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Senior Airman Laurent. I'm an intel analyst at the 28th Bomb Squadron. My question for you today is, what is the most memorable obstacle or hardship that you've encountered in your life, and how did this shape you to be the leader you are today?
Well, that's an interesting question. But I'll tell you, in terms of obstacles, would be the weaponization of government by the previous administration. That was probably the biggest obstacle. I won by a lot. I ran a second time, I won by a lot. And I ran a third time, and it was too big to rig. But the biggest was that. They went after a lot of great Americans. I was one of them. And I would say weaponization by my opponent was a disgrace to our nation. And I would say it was the most difficult time. And we won. And now today I'm in Florida, but generally I'm in the White House, I'm in the Oval Office. So I look around and say, oh, well, couldn't have been that bad, but it was. It was a disgrace to our nation, and it should never be allowed to happen again. And it's being looked at very strongly. But it's a very interesting question. I don't know that anybody's ever asked me the question that way. But if you did, I would say it was the weaponization and illegal weaponization that they used where our government attacked the president and the former president of the United States of America. And I was fighting for you, not just for myself. I was fighting for you. I was fighting for everyone that I'm looking, all of those incredible patriots that I'm looking at, but the millions of people that are listening right now and the hundreds of millions of people in our country. And we fought and we won, but they're bad people. So thank you. That's a great question.
You think? Do you guys agree with that as well? I mean, I think it had to be, right? Like, was it that or the allegations of, the Stormy Daniels stuff? I guess it all kind of ties together in that Russia thing. So, but they did everything they could, guys. They pulled out every friggin' stop they could against President Trump, unfortunately. But I don't know if you guys have any counters to that or anything else you want to add to that, but I thought it was interesting.
I just know that President Trump has declared all executive orders and pardons null and void now during the Biden administration. So I think he did give after a certain point, like maybe a certain day, year, but yeah. So that brings up a whole lineage of what ifs. What if they find out and finally tell us that Obama was not born in the United States and that his birth certificate was fraudulent, which we know that make it all null and void. It should. So I don't know. How far back are we going on this stuff?
I think with Obama, unfortunately, the court ruled that he went through the process of being nominated or put in as the president, and that kind of trumped anything else. Whether that can be overturned, I'm not sure, but that's what the ruling was when the birth certificate was examined in court, because the White House and was it the CIA, the FBI? I can't remember, but they put together that birth certificate and created it. But the judge ruled that he went through due process to be the president.
Yeah, well, and that's disgusting, right? So what Lisa's talking about essentially is the whole birther thing about Obama's birth certificate. But they essentially were doing this while he was already in office. So their whole reasoning to, well, he wasn't born here. He wasn't a citizen. He shouldn't be a president of the United States. And they were like, well, the fact that he's already been the president of the United States basically makes him eligible to be the president again. It's like, what? Excuse me? But like, what if he, and I'm not saying what if, I truly believe 100% he is, but what if he is a Manchurian candidate?
He was. What if we had a judicial system that wasn't corrupt and we really re-examined that whole situation? That'd be interesting. I mean, Chief Justice Roberts is leading the whole thing, and he leads the FISA committee. I don't know if it's changed recently, but remember when all the Q posts came out, and it hasn't changed, I don't believe, but he has some very interesting research into him discussed.
Yeah, when you say Trump is cancelling all of the executive orders, isn't it specifically the ones that were signed by the auto pen? And isn't there one executive order that he actually signed, and that was to pardon Hunter Biden? Is that not correct?
That was the only one, yeah. That was a pardon. Correct.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, I was just going to say that's what I'm hearing as well, is that he basically didn't sign any of the executive orders, but he did sign the Hunter Biden pardon, allegedly. But we do know for a fact, I mean, there's multiple occasions in which people had lined up his schedule with these things being signed, and most of the time he was, eating ice cream on the beach in Maryland. So no way he was at the White House.
I think there's another scandal that's been brewing for a while, and that is the corruption in the Ukraine, which the Biden family and lots of other families were also involved in. And that's possibly and probably why he did the executive the pardons as well, or it's involved. So at the moment, people very close to Zelensky are being, they're resigning from their jobs, and I think they've been caught red-handed, as in a lot of the money that supposedly went to the Ukraine has gone into their pockets. So it's going to be interesting to see what's happened, because I think that Europe knew about it and still gave money. I think America knew about it and still gave money, but it is kind of being investigated properly right now, and let's hope that the culprits are caught, because it's a lot of money. And one of them is, I think, 75 million to do with like a utility company, may have involved the Bidens. I think that's coming as well. And I people say that a pardon can't be, you can't go back on it. But Mike, isn't there somebody that Trump pardoned? He was a friend of Jared Kushner's, and yet he was still charged. Isn't there a situation like that has happened more recently during the Trump's first administration?
I can't remember the exact. There was something going on, but I don't remember that particular one.
Yeah, I'll try and find it, but there was definitely somebody who had been pardoned, but yet he was still charged.
Was that energy company Burisma?
No, I don't think it was.
Or utility company? Sorry.
I don't know if it was somebody Barack or it was somebody. He was a friend of Jared Kushner's. That's what I do remember, And even though he had a pardon, he was still charged and still jailed. So, there's a chance.
Ken Kurson, he was a friend of Jared Kushner and was pardoned by President Trump on federal charges. However, months after the pardon, he was charged in state court with eavesdropping and computer trespass, cyberstalking related to alleged spying on his ex-wife. It says, because presidential pardons only apply to federal crimes, they don't shield him from state-level prosecution. So if that's the same guy, maybe it was a deal here.
And that's the same thing going on with that lady, Tina Peters, or was that her name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Colorado.
So Trump can't just release her or pardon her. It's under state law.
Look at that, guys.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So I wonder whether Hunter. I seem to remember, there was some state laws that he broke or breached. So I wonder whether the same could happen with Hunter Biden.
Well, let me ask you guys this, and I'm just going off script, and we didn't talk about this and stuff, but let's say I'm going to ask each of you as if you guys were running the country. You're President Trump. What would be your first go-to? I'll do ladies first, because I know Mac is a true gentleman, and we'll only have it that way. But Lisa, you're the president. What is the first area of attack that you were going after? Kind of help get your side to win, or your narrative, or your side to win. We'll just leave it at that. What is your first course of action? What are you attacking first?
Ooh, big question.
Right?
Lawfare. Exactly what he did. So basically, they used lawfare, as they call it, as warfare, and that's what I'd do. So I'd attack everything that they'd done that was against the American people. So, immigration, huge impact on the American people. Corruption, that too. The Russia, absolutely. Things that provide an example that is incontrovertible to show the people exactly what they were like.
Same question to you, Mac.
You got to have the court of public opinion on your side as well. So important to let them show their bottoms, so to speak.
Max, same question to you, brother.
Could you repeat the question again? I just want to make sure I heard it correctly.
Did you or did you not have sexual relations with that woman in the Oval Office? No. What, you're the president. You're President Trump now. You're in the same exact position as him. What is your main focus of attack?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with what I thought first. Is exactly what Lisa was talking about, and truth. Like, you gotta just. I think it's time for people just to hear the truth, and I know that takes time, but I think he's doing it the way it should be, and bringing people together so peacefully.
I don't disagree with either of you guys.
I think keeping the public at ease and keeping it peaceful and unified, that really is the mark of a good leader. So we've gone through a lot of crap. I'd say the nation's gotten even more unified. So that's incredible.
Yeah, and so my thing is, and it looks like this person typed their comment like a second before I did because I didn't see it, but Paul Price III or Paul Price III wrote the media, Mike. I was just typing mine is the media. I don't know how they're going to do it and how they're going to go about it. If maybe it's going to take the military to kind of go in and say, hey, listen, we're going to hold these people to account because essentially they can lie, right? Like I've talked about it in my pre-Q days. There was a big case out of Florida where Fox News, and I have to be accurate on this one, air quotes, affiliate, right? It's Fox News. They're out of Florida, and their parent company is, you guessed it, Fox News. But guess what? It's not Fox News, guys. It was just an affiliate. But their company had a very public disagreement with two journalists who I think they were married at the time. And essentially it was about the human growth hormone that they put in the milk. You know how like when you go get your milk at the store now, it says like no HGH or no whatever hormone in it or whatever. Well, this story, I think it was Monsanto who first came out with it. They wrote the story. They were asked to rewrite it. They were asked to rewrite it again. They were asked to remove words like cancer. They did the rewrite, I think it was 62 or 82 times, which this guy and his wife said, like, this is absolutely unheard of in the business of doing these rewrites. So at the end of the day, like, hey, we don't want this story coming out. They were brought into a meeting and told, hey, we'll pay you 2 years salary for you guys not to run the story. And the wife was like, okay, write it up. And the husband's like, what the hell? What are you doing? And she's like, shut up. So basically, she was like, yeah. And she got the proof of that. So the long and short of it is, as we do know, and I'm sorry I took this long to get back around to it, is that the media don't have to tell us the truth, right? That's something I would make like the absolute foundation. The media, if you're on TV and you're posing yourself as, quote, news, you 100% must tell the truth to the best of your ability at every time. And if you make a mistake, you must correct said mistake. Because we can get all sorts of actions, we can get lawsuits, we can get whatever. But if we don't have, what is it right now? Like 90% of the media out there is just completely anti-Trump. And anything he says is a big problem. So that's my go-to. It would be the media and attack it. Maybe if he has to write an executive order about being truthful or rescind what's that thing called? The Smith-Mundt Act. So they can't do psyops on their population. But then again, you say maybe they have to keep them in there for a little while longer for a specific reason, right?
Well, aren't things kind of changing in the media landscape? Because you've got, the ownership has changed. I think more recently, I can't remember. It's Warner Brothers. There's going to be a partnership potentially between Warner Brothers, which was bought by Liberty Media, which is John, is it Walsh? I think he's the largest independent landowner in the US, but he owns Liberty Media, and he's teaming up with Larry Ellison's son, who's now running a big media corporation, which I think now owns CNN and things like that. So there is quite a shake-up that is going on in the media right now, Quite a shake.
I'm liking, I can't say it enough. I love that dude on CNN, the Scott Jennings. He's just taking him to the woodshed, Mac.
And President Trump is using the lawfare. He's suing them. So the BBC one coming up is going to be gigantic, as we discussed. So I think we're going to start seeing that play out. We've been patient for all the reasons you just said, and I'm just waiting for journalism to go back to real journalism. And I think there's a caveat that the U.S. government has to approve some things, given the fact that there's a newsroom in the Pentagon, I think. So there's some relay of messaging to the people. This is really good right here.
Play this after Lisa gets her.
I was just going to say, I don't think there isn't. There isn't just a newsroom in the Pentagon. There's a full-on film production in the Pentagon, and it's been going on for decades. So, I think that it's kind of a double-edged sword, or used by both sides, really. Because the government has been, to a degree, also controlling some narratives within the media. Just to be fair and give a non-partisan view, I know
That's
that
what I was implying.
going on for decades. So, I think that the ownership and control needs to change. And maybe, I don't know whether getting them on monopolies, possibly monopolies, or having a monopoly on the media. I don't know whether that's been tried. I don't know.
There's so many monopolies out there. Go ahead.
They lose their publishing license. That gives them all. Isn't that what it's called? Publisher's license, where they're able to broadcast. Like Trump always talks about, they're able to use these radio waves to, spew this fake news. Maybe we should take away their license. So I think it's a publishing license.
No, I think it's the FCC, isn't it?
Well, it's one of them.
I think FCC is the broadcast license. Then you've got, I don't know whether they would come under Section 230, which is what protects the online platforms. You remember they brought that in as the internet was growing kind of thing, and now they're these huge companies and it's still there. And I think Clarence Thomas has a view on Section 230. But I think it's the FCC that deals with broadcast licenses.
It is.
And
I can give you a little breakdown.
There you go. I think it is, bro.
It's so in the U.S., broadcast TV, AM, FM radio must have FCC licenses, and that lets them or regulates them to use the public airwaves, the frequency, power, coverage area, ownership rules, public interest. Cable companies do not. No license is required to broadcast a cable channel because cable does not use public airwaves. Cable channels like Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ESPN are not FCC licensed broadcasts. That's weird. That's really weird. Because they're not on them. That's just local stations versus national networks are. So yeah, it's they know what they're doing though out there, and it's the deck is 100% stacked against President Trump and anybody on the conservative side of things. Even when we have these platforms to use, we're still being throttled and shadow banned and whatnot. I'll show you guys a very interesting example of that in a minute, of somebody who I actually enjoy his content, is getting the views that he should be getting on YouTube. But let's listen to Miller here for a second.
Audience perfectly, Sean. This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy by the Democrat Party. It's the same attack that we see, Sean, when you have California, a sanctuary state, that is refusing to turn over even illegal alien criminals and gang members to ICE. So these are illegal aliens in California who have been arrested by California police, by California law enforcement for serious crimes, for crimes against children, for felonies, for crimes that threaten public safety, and they are refusing to hand these criminal illegal aliens over to ICE. Instead, they're freeing them back into the cities to offend and offend again. By any definition, what California is doing is criminal. It is a violation of our laws. It is one of the most heinous things that I have seen in my entire.
He's right. And not only that, but a lot of these kids, like I think almost every single one of them, right? They were left at people's houses or, I don't know, meet up at a strip club, meet up at a parking lot somewhere. And they did not even that they didn't vet these people. There was no background check on these people that were watching the kids, period. You could have had a 5-time pedophile, convicted pedophile, and sign up as a sponsor, and they would have just dropped a kid off with that person. It's so much worse than you can even imagine. And like during one of these press conferences, they talked about, and I don't even know how the hell this happens. They talked about a 1-year-old unaccompanied minor. Like 1-year-old unaccompanied minor, like how the hell does that even happen? So it's disgusting. And not only that, but they're taking advantage of these people. I don't look at these people and go, oh, you're a horrible person because you're trying to make a better life for your family. But when you do it the wrong way and then you expect everything and then you're going to do crimes on top of that, I do have a problem with that. But yeah, it is criminal what they're doing. And, kind of like we were talking about earlier, Mac, President Trump can only do certain things, right, in a state until he's basically invited in, right? And I don't know at one point or how bad does it have to get until he would be allowed to do something in some of these states. But it looks like there's an uphill battle, and these sanctuary states and cities are just harboring these criminals, and whether they are just a criminal from crossing the border or have additional crimes on top of that, it's absolutely disgusting. But I'm glad to see that President Trump got the border down to basically nobody coming through, how it should be. Then we could talk about the dying birth rates in certain countries. One of ours being one of those as well. But Mac, anything else you want to add to that discussion?
No, I think he nailed it.
I love what he's doing. He's just all over the place. Miss Lisa, anything you wanted to add here?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that he said was that about the policies, and that those policies were kind of instigated and devised by the DHS, so your Department of Homeland Security, which Mayorkas was in charge of. And I did a lot of research on the various places. They had pickup points, like in the middle of the jungle in Panama, where if you wanted to illegally enter the States, then you get to one of these particular points. When you get there, you'll be met by the Red Cross and various other organizations, and you'll be put on a bus, and then you'll be flown into the United States, across the border, into, let's say, I don't know whether it was just sanctuary cities, but I know that they were doing night flights, of these illegal migrants. And they were bussing them in, and they were paying them, literally. So your taxpayer dollars, maybe that's where they start, the taxpayer dollars that were illegally given to these illegal migrants, outside of the States, not American citizens. And then the impact that has on American citizens. Like he says, like the voting and things like that. It's like, well, can you get away with that? Can you kind of use the Equality Act, where every vote should have the same kind of value? Well, it doesn't if you're allowing these illegal migrants to vote, and the spending of public money.
So much. Funny meme you had there, Mac, with what's his name? Sloth. Chunk love sloth. Slop love chunk. Back on.
I did come across another interesting photograph of MaQaveli at the bottom. Now,
oh God, is that him?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I can't confirm, but this reminded me. I had a thought that there's a strange-looking guy with a bald head, and I think it's MaQaveli that's been in the past like that.
Something's weird with his eye, dude. That looks
and his ear.
Yeah, that's stretch right there of the skin or whatever. I would definitely need more of it, but it looks. I don't know if it's like the State of the Union dress or something like that, where they're all schmooze. That eye color does not look. That looks.
I
like
don't know if this is a real photograph. You know, I found this and I was just like, oh my God. Maybe I can show this and people can confirm some weird pictures of him. But
yeah, that eye looks like a cyborg eye or something. Let's pull this one up here. So this is some good news here. Pop this. Thankfully, and hopefully this stays and going in this direction here. Play 43 seconds of this.
Is that Andrew remains in serious condition. We did have some positive news that we were told that Andrew was asked if he could hear the nurse who asked the question to give a thumbs up, and he did respond. And we were told that he also wiggled his toes. So we take that as a positive sign. I'm not here to speculate, but I will say one thing, that Melody, the mom, has been so positive a force, and she's been asking people across the country to pray for her son, and those prayers are working. So say is that Andrew.
So it's Guardsman Andrew Wolf has responded to nurses after being injured or shot in the head, as far as I understand it, right? He was asked if he could hear the nurse, gave thumbs up, and he did respond. So definitely prayers, guys. Send out some prayers to Andrew Wolf and his family, that he makes speedy recovery, and hopefully he can pull through on. Just horrible. And you got to think about this, guys, right? Like, they're there, and now they have to be extra on their heels, right? Like, they have to be looking over their shoulder even more, unfortunately, because we have the rhetoric of the other side that wants to go out there and keep saying, like, essentially, they're posing Trump as, the emperor, and the National Guard or our military as the stormtroopers, essentially, right? Painting them as bad people and bad things, or that are backing a bad person, essentially. So that is a dangerous proposition, and we don't need that stuff in our country. Like, take that crap and bring it back to the middle of our soldiers killed, especially when it could have been avoided, because we know, in my opinion, this guy was probably either MK Ultra'd or forced to do it or whatever. But I don't think that a country that provides you a safe haven, that he's going to hold some animosity towards the soldiers of that country to just go back and shoot a couple of them, like, doesn't really make sense. Like, we were told early on in the drops about the MK Ultra and how they can basically split people's personalities, and that's, you're talking about what, 50, 60, 70-year-old technology. So I can only imagine what they could do nowadays to follow the psychiatrists. But Mac Lisa, I usually do this closer to 9 o'clock, and then we end up going over and stuff. So I'm going to do this and give you guys an extra opportunity to scour our brains, because I do have more links that we can go through and stuff. But as every show ends, we're like, oh, dude, we forgot to bring this up, or oh, we forgot to bring that up. So just giving you guys the opportunity to kind of think of anything else that you have wanting to cover that we have not covered yet. And I'm also just going to bring this one up. That in the back of your head. And Lieutenant Keith Kellogg, cancel. Breaking: Lieutenant Keith Kellogg, U.S. Retired, identified as leaker of Trump peace plan, fired from the Ukraine role. So we had people over there that were supposedly trying to basically hide the truth or keep the war going. these warmongers apparently were not doing the right thing. We even have Pompeo over there as part of some Ukrainian, I think it's a energy company now. If it's not, it's a bio company. I forget which one it is, but Mikey Palms is over there. So Mac or Lisa, well, Lisa, we'll go with you first. Any comments on Kellogg being gone or anything with Russia and Ukraine that you'd like to discuss? But seems to me like they're allowing, in this whole plan deal, it seems to me that they're allowing Russia to get back the point in which, or get to the point in which they're taking back land that essentially is land of ethnically speaking Russians. So like we know like the area of like the Donbass and oh geez. Forgetting the names of them. But yeah, they're mostly Russian.
Didn't they vote to be run by Russia?
Yes. Yes.
That this is what people seem to leave out. They voted to be managed by Russia in some proper elections. And Russia's kind of got those regions anyway. I think most of the regions, maybe you can ask Ardok, whether that's true or not. But given where things are at, and I don't know, just given where things are at, it's like, well, how are you going to stop this war? What is going to happen? And I think the one thing that has to happen is that there is peace between those two neighbors, and that there has been purposeful friction created, and somehow they're going to have to get around it. But I'm not. I think that it'd be very difficult to get Russia to retreat, given what was done to those people in those areas. I think there was about 14,000 people that were killed by the Ukrainians. We seem to forget about that as well when we're talking about these particular areas and the experimentation that was done on those people too. And Ukraine, and I would say Ukraine and Europe hasn't got much of a leg to stand on, I would think, really and truthfully. And I'll leave it there. That's just some thoughts,
Here's what you brought up. This is back in 22. I thought it was earlier than that. But anyways, it says referendums in the Donbass to join Russia pass overwhelmingly. So just for anybody who's not aware, that area of the Donbass is basically what's in between. Well, it's technically in Ukraine, and it's right up against Russia. And so that area, as I understand it, is 90% ethnic speaking Russians, essentially Russians, not Ukrainians. And so they basically wanted to join back and be part of the Russian Federation or whatever. And we know that since I think 2014, up until around this time here, you had Ukrainian soldiers going in there and basically torturing, shooting, killing ethnic Russians that were living in that area. And so that's what I feel like that they're trying to do, Lisa. I certainly don't think they're going to retreat anything, but I think they're at the point right now pretty much where they have the areas secured behind them that are the Russian-speaking areas. So that's what I feel like that they're going to end up doing. I certainly do not see any retreat in Putin's repertoire getting pulled out anytime. But Mr. Mack, anything else you want to add about the Russia-Ukraine spiel, which should have been done, 2-3 years ago? But thanks to Boris Johnson going over there, stopping the peace deal in its tracks, which if it wasn't Boris Johnson, it was going to be somebody else. They didn't want that war stopped, but it definitely needs to by now. But the floor is yours, sir.
From my understanding, and this is just from a long time ago, a friend of mine, that most of eastern Ukraine is more pro-Russia, and the western Ukraine is more pro-Europe. And wasn't Ukraine, for the most part, mainly Russia and the Soviet Union or USSR back in the day. So a fairly new nation. I know this conflict probably goes back centuries. Um, I don't know exactly Putin's motive. I know sovereignty seems to be a big motive that he's talked about publicly. So maybe Ukraine itself is not treating its citizens as sovereign citizens, and a lot of corruptions in the Ukraine, as we know. So I can only guess that, but um, I just want this thing over. It's crazy.
Regarding color
Are they going for
revolutions,
the Ark of the Covenant or something? It's like there's always like some underlying conspiracy theory that it just seems plausible that there's. Well, we do know there's a lot of underground tunnels in the Ukraine that extend all the way down to India. I believe that's been documented.
trying to break into Trump's office to
Go
get
ahead,
the
please.
Ark of the Covenant.
I was gonna say, you know, historically, isn't Ukraine, like Khazaria, like a Khazarian stronghold,
Exactly.
and it was the Russians that kind of destroyed that back in the day. You know, I don't know when, but historically, so it seems like that's one of the reasons why Russia's been attacked. And, you know, Matt, you just mentioned the corruption in the Ukraine. It seems like everybody's involved in the corruption in the Ukraine. And if you don't believe me, just think about how much money the Ukrainians had and where those weapons are being sold. You know, they're in Africa. The weapons that we're supposedly sending over, you know, they've ended up all over the place, being sold on the black market, no less. You know, but the corruption is deep in the Ukraine, and that was the ticket that Zelensky ran on, that he was going to deal with the corruption. And of course, he's backed by Kolomoisky, you know, this guy who seems to own everything. And I think that Zelensky's right hand man has just gone, he's just resigned, you know.
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention.
You just sparked something in my. Thank you very much.
Go ahead.
And now that dude, so Kolomoisky, he's the guy that's basically the funder, right? He was the guy that had all the money, essentially.
Yeah, and owns the media companies and all of that. So basically, he's the and kind of funds the. If you notice, one of the points in the peace plan is to not have the Nazis running everything, you know. And even though Zelensky is supposed to be a Jew, I think they say that he's a Russian Jew, actually, you know. They don't mention that either. But you know, he's the one who what's that outfit called? That regiment. Anyway, they are Nazis and they've been around for a long time.
Azov.
And sorry?
Azov. Yep.
Yeah. They infiltrated the police, the military, and they're being paid, you know. But Kolomoisky seems to be behind everything. But this right-hand man that's just gone, just resigned, he's interesting because Zelensky was in business with him. So I think the kind of walls are closing in on Zelensky right now. And probably a lot of European activity is to somehow avoid that, because it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing for Europe. You know, they knew that this was going on. They knew.
Now,
absolutely, without a doubt.
Think about how many people, like politicians and people, got kickbacks in the Ukrainian government and the U.S. government. First thing that comes to mind when I just had that thought was Lindsey Graham being over in the Ukraine, and you were mentioning the guy who owns like the media company. So obviously, it was all like for camera. Remember all the actors going over, shaking Zelensky's hand, trying to get more money, trying to win the people over. So they're all caught up in this. It's wild.
I got a little. Did have a breakdown. RDoc gave me basically a breakdown of because Rubio, Kellogg, Graham, Rhino versus Vance, Witkoff, and Driscoll split. Basically, illegal national security leaks of Witkov, Dmitriev, or Witkov, Yushakov calls are punishable by 20 years in prison. So that dude Kellogg's not looking so hot. He might be in some hot water. Says Kellogg is a POS liar and that Trump is at risk of a Vietnam-type disaster. Rubio pulled off meaningful discussions and back channel. You referenced talks like 1962 with Kennedy took place. Rubio has been trying to crash all talks with Russia, like he did with Israel, and he's been sidelined. Kellogg's fired. Money trail for Ukraine. Corruption goes to Estonia banks and eats and into the pockets of Republican and Democrat congressmen. Kellogg also implicated in corruption, and here's where it gets juicy. Zelensky has been trying to shut down the NABU leading investigation. Budanov meeting with Driscoll and Russians in Abu Dhabi was leaked. Budanov is making a play for himself, but not to be trusted. He sees his chances as presidency slipping away as Russia keeps advancing, keen on freezing the conflict to give himself a chance in place of Z or Zelensky. As of now, Trump has not given Z has not given Trump an answer. Putin made strong statements today that Russia does not recognize Z as legitimate for negotiations, while Russia will happily negotiate for an end of fighting if Ukraine leaves the Donbass. And it says Russia is also just as willing to keep on fighting and take that territory and more, to which Driscoll and Vance and Kushner told Ukraine, you are losing and you losing bigly. Take the damn deal. And so basically he talked about later on in a different one. Says Trump had NABU raid Andrei Yermak today after he made his verbal refusal yesterday and said Ukraine would never cede territory while Zelensky was president and rejected Trump's plan. Came after Putin's statement, came after Zelensky did give a yes answer to Trump, but says he would be meeting Trump and others next week. Trump said nope, no meeting until Zelensky has a peace plan in place with Russia. So he had them friggin' raid Yermak, and then like you said, the Zelensky or whatever, he's gone as well. So things are certainly falling apart for old Zelensky over there, and this is the area in which we're talking about where it's basically all of this is Russia. And I think where we are now, like here's the Donbass or whatever, this area, and basically where they are now, this is March of 2022, this image you're seeing here. So we did this the other day, and they're basically like right here where my cursor is, like right around this area. So this red, it would be from where the point of my cursor here, all to the right would be red, which is the area Russia's taken over there in the Ukraine area. So looks to be falling apart for old Zelensky over there, and I'm here for it with lots of popcorn and lots of butter. So can't wait to see how this one ends out. But you know, they are talking about the things that they're trying to do here, guys, right? What is that thing that they did in Ukraine that they're trying to do here? It is a color revolution, right? I think I had it pulled up earlier. I was going to read.
Bayshad, who did Kellogg leak to? Did it say?
Oh, jeez, I don't. With you, I think it was the media. Sure.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out what source. I don't know if they would say or what.
It was that conversation, I guess, between.
I'm gonna keep my eye on that. There's got to be more to be disclosed than just that. So maybe we'll get some more detail.
Was it the actual plan?
If this, I'll see if Lisa's favorite has anything on it. The AI.
Okay.
Like no, all right. Well, don't worry. They're not really. It's probably stuff that wouldn't be out there in the public anyways just yet. But you know, leaking that stuff is dangerous crap, and they're all over there playing games with this stuff, and you have people that are literally being thrown in a meat cutter, essentially. People yanked off the streets to go serve their country, and it's like, you know, you're not going to make it more than like 48 hours. So, and it's tough because then you have people that are trying to leave, and they're being shot and killed with drones by the Ukrainians themselves.
And then isn't I think there's somebody. Is it in South Africa? It might be a lady, but they've been, you know, getting people to go and fight in the Ukraine under false pretenses. So they go over there for a job, and the next thing they're conscripted and they can't leave. Something like that. I think it's South Africa that have been doing that. But obviously they've had a huge recruitment drive for people to fight for the Ukraine, And even the Biden administration said, you know, if an American goes over there and joins in the war, which again shows their desperation, then they won't be charged. You know, and there was a lot of British people that went over there and fought for the Ukraine. They got caught. I think one of them was sentenced to death or whatever. You know, and it's like, well, it's your own fault, you know. And then the guy who tried to assassinate Trump on the golf course, you know, he was recruiting. It was I think people were being paid like $3,000 or something, and you have to wonder where he was getting that $3,000 per person from. You know, he was obviously working as a proxy for somebody.
State Department. I think Mike Benz pinned him as a State Department employee because he put out posts, you know, that are predating this stuff, of course. But he's talking about like what Lisa was mentioning, like, oh, hey, we're paying this and we're paying that. And yes, you did get that correct, Lisa. South Africans, quote, fooled into fighting Russia's war, says Ukraine's envoy. So yeah, Alexander Sherba here says that, yeah, South Africans were fooled into fighting for Russia. For Russia, says Ukrainian person. That's interesting. Oh, well, it's a Ukrainian envoy, so who knows? They're probably doing it and then probably blaming the Russians, which is what they did the whole time, right? What was that guy on YouTube? Christopher Land something? Christopher, damn. But he was on the ground in Mariupol in Ukraine, and he was, you know, interviewing the people there, and they're like, no, that hole that you see in that building right there, that was done by the Ukrainian military. They shot on their own buildings. So yes, it's been a really shitty situation over there for way too long, and they need to button that up. And I'm also keep hearing stuff over about Israel, like, oh, somebody just killed a bunch of you know, Israelis, and somebody just killed a bunch of Palestinians. Like, oh, they're never gonna get it right over there. So maybe that's why it was for last, because it's so important and so key to everything. But final thoughts times.
I had a question.
Matt,
did you guys get a chance to watch Age of Disclosure?
Oh shit, dude! Why didn't you start us with that? Damn it! No, you know what? I went to go watch it, and I think it's only on like Prime, but you got to pay like even $20 just to rent it, right? Not gonna lie.
I'm not sure.
Not gonna lie, I tried to go on the Fire Stick and watch it there, but there was no streams available on there. But you want to give us a quick wrap up, or do you want to?
Yeah, it wasn't. It didn't show a ton of footage. It really just walked us up to the current date of what's been going on with sightings. There is a legacy program that is behind the scenes that encompasses private contractors and deep state government people. These people have been in power for decades in the same position or worked their way up. And so I found it very interesting because they say it dates back to the 1940s, which is Roswell. There might have been another famous crash, I can't remember, but Roswell was the most famous. And since then, it would appear that there's been a suppression of technology, as well as they do talk about aliens. I'll leave the rest of it for you all to discuss or go see, but it really is going to be. Trump does have the ability and has asked in the past. With Steve Mnuchin had asked, maybe it was what's the guy in that? I can't remember the gentleman's name in the Age of Disclosure. It'll come to me maybe in a second. But, you know, if he had disclosed what aliens and UFOs, what impact would it have on the economy? So all these people behind the scenes have this scaredy pants way of manipulating so that, like, we aren't ready for the truth kind of deal. When I think in reality we are, because that holding back, that suppressing that information has prevented us from excelling. And then it's also been used to manipulate and control us. So the same powers that be have been controlling society and the world for a long time, and they've just grown. They obviously have grown wealth. Look at all the missing money. And that is also a onion layer that is behind this. And I find it very interesting that, you know, all these carriers are out in the Caribbean Ocean, and they always talk about recently, I think it's was Tim Burchett talks about UFOs coming out of the waters from about 5-6 different areas around the world. And you wonder, obviously, Venezuela's coastline has, it's on the water, if there's any correlation to any of that. But
doubt it.
We may not. Yeah, we may not ever know. But it's a very interesting documentary. I think we are in the beginning stages of disclosure of what is actually going on to an extent. So,
right? I mean,
you guys let me know when you see it.
I'll definitely try to watch this. Like I said, I did try to go. I was like, shit, $20 to rent it. I'm like, let me try the Fire Stick, and it was.
You can always wait.
Yeah. Just wait till you get it out. But yeah, publicly has been lied to. Secretly made documentary insists that aliens exist. But remember, what do they do when they're trying to push a narrative, right? You've seen, like, what is the topic on, most of the action stories in the last 20 or 30 years, right? Like, oh, UFO, or we just made contact, contact with Jodie Foster and all these different alien movies. And what's that one with the green, blue people there? They just had they're having a sequel to it now, where the guy goes into like different land or whatever, and he's like character. I can't remember the name. That will know it, but like plenty of movies on aliens, UFOs, and disclosure in the last 30-40 years. So many that I agree with Mac. Like, we're ready. Like, let's give us whatever you want to lie to us about, because odds are I'm not going to believe it when it first comes out. I'm gonna need to touch one of these guys for myself. You know what I mean? Or girls, whatever the case may be. But Lisa,
yeah, the main thing though, I think, is the alien part. I'm like you, but the suppression of this technology, because they'll explain in that Age of Disclosure, it's like a hidden race between like Russia, China, and the United States to unlock these retrieved off-world vehicles, and they've had life forms in there, and that's what these guys talk about in that documentary. So it's very interesting. There's all these different theories, so I'll leave it there. Keep everyone's curiosity.
Guy, I'm not even gonna have to go through this whole thing, but there was a guy that was on Joe Rogan years and years ago, like decades ago, that he worked at Area 51. Bob Lazar, and there was like some element that he said that they were working with
151,
right? And they were like, well, no, it doesn't exist. But then, as time went on, they did discover that element is actually a real thing, right?
Yeah. So, there's a lot of these little hints throughout our history of looking into technologies. AI, to the public's new. It's not new behind the scenes. It's now accessible to us. I think it's been around for a long time. I don't even know. I wonder if it plays a part in our news media cycle, fake news media cycle, and creating chaos. So,
I'm sure.
Yeah, I wonder how long that's been going on, and then true CGI as well. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll find out hopefully soon.
See what happens. We'll see what happens. Miss Lisa, as we're rolling out the door here, of course, my 15-year-old's like, I don't think I want to go to school tomorrow. I'm like, what? Like, I never wanted to go to school. Like, what's the difference? I think he's getting strep or something. So he's good for strep once or twice a year. I'm going to have to run over to the old pharmacy in a little bit. But that's after the show. But final thoughts for you, Miss Lisa? Anything that you're thinking about on the way out of here?
My mind went blank then.
Like, I'm eating over here. Leave me alone. And thank you for sticking here with us, Lisa, because I understand it is 10, 11, 12, 1 or 2.
10 past 2 in the morning.
We appreciate you staying here late with us.
I go to sleep earlier on, so I'm happy about that. Every time I fall asleep around 9 o'clock, it's like, oh, that's great. I wake up and wonder what time it is. But I'm interested to see what the next move is with Venezuela. Yeah, that's what I'm waiting to see. I and also with Europe as well, because Europe always seemed to go against what President Trump is doing, do their best to go in the opposite direction. So I just want to see what's going to happen with Venezuela. I just think that we might see an interesting outcome. Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm waiting for.
Max, as you think about really, thanks to a couple folks at D Live. So one of my favorite screen names, it's a pickle, it's a deer, it's Saint Cosmic the dildo. And Cockpit Monkey, and then Tumbleweed, the top 3 contributors over there on D Live. So thank you for that. I'm dropping 50 diamonds, guys, not cubic. And then build, and that way we can buy once we say thank you. And if you guys are not, anybody that's listening on whatever platform that you're on, if you are not checking out thefoxhole.app or pilled.net, same, basically the same site together, you're definitely missing out. A lot of good content creators over there. Pop this over and thank Bois Blanc for the phone says, love our Monday Patriots, and we love you too. So thank you for that. And then Bois Blanc, Sean Joe follows up with 2 cookies, no message, but thank you on that one. And then Lori P with the ship says, love Monday nights with you and your crew. So thank you for that, Lori. And then we got Sean Joe with another cookie, no message. Q shook me all night long with the can, no message. So thank you for that. Q shook me all night long. And Sean Joe, and then Sean Joe went crazy with 2 more cookies. Thank you for that. And then another can from One Thunder, and the last one is One Thunder with the cookie. And I am releasing the scratchings, and they're coming at you. Mac, you have, of course, before I say, my last spiel, you have the final say of this fine Monday evening.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for everybody that tuned in. Great show. Please hit the thumbs up button. We do appreciate it. And I'm looking forward, like Lisa said, what happens with Venezuela. I'm sure we're going to have a few things unfold the next week, like always. And until the next time.
Always what's next, right?
Oh, and there was one other thing, and that is that the Supreme Court are going to be giving a ruling on the tariffs. Yes? That is going to be interesting. Yes? Because the tariffs have been kind of shaking up the world at the moment. And again, Europe don't like it, They don't like it at all. They're trying to set up their own kind of trade group. And it's like, you all need America. And we know that you do, Because America constitutes quite a lot of trade for all of those countries, and the amount that they would lose if they didn't do trade with America, they just can't afford it. They can't afford it. And then there's somebody else has just asked for the Epstein files for the victims to be screened out, redacted their information, and that's going through the courts at this moment in time. So every effort is being made to kind of stymie, remember the 30 days release of all of the Epstein files.
Nice. Yeah. That's my only concern is can they get the original file? And I think we talked about last time, Lisa had mentioned, my concerns about removing things. They would have to be really damn good to do that because, as we've mentioned, if you put a lawsuit in, when you file that lawsuit, they write a 10-page lawsuit. You literally have to count every word that you put in the lawsuit. Okay, I just did a lawsuit. It was 10 pages at 33,000 words or whatever. So I believe that's to hold, the genuine of the case, right?
Yeah, they can't change it because the information is with the courts. So that's it. And I know that the opposition have been saying, oh, well, he's going to change everything. And it's like, no, you can't change everything. You can't change anything unless it was like national security. And therefore it just wouldn't be there, and they can't report it. But I wonder how much is national security, given what I think about Epstein and the way that he's involved with government agencies and various other different people. You know?
And
We'll see.
Just a programming note, we are up to, and the more the better, guys, over here on Rumble, 243 thumbs up to 0 down. That is very good. So please click that on the way out here for us, guys. And remember, over on the YouTube side, I will be playing one outro video and then my outro. And then thank you for watching. Video ends there. Rumble, D-Live, Pilled, everybody else stay in for one more video as me and their Mac chat really quick in the background. And then I will end that. So a little bit of delay after the first intro for the rest of you guys. And YouTube, you're gone after the first one. Sorry, I don't make the rules. They just enforce them on me. Fair use, fair use. So thank you to the mods out there. You guys rock, helping myself and many others out there. And thank you, Just the Truth says, great show, Space Shot, Lisa Mack, and Wheezy Girl for moderating on Rumble over here.
Yeah, just going to mention that one. I was just looking at it.
Yeah, so thank you for that, guys. And again, thank you to the mods. Really big help to myself and many others out there. And for Lisa and Mac, we do appreciate each and every one of you, last one of you wonderful world patriots out there for tuning in. And until that next one, thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Peace.
Hello, guys. Something special is happening in here. That's right. It's brackets and jackets. Bringing it back for brackets and jackets. Special Epstein Island edition. That's right, folks. Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein, the man with the island, which is suspiciously close to Haiti. That's right. You see, this man, Jeffrey Epstein, is funding lots of people. He's funding lots of people on the street to make sure his shit doesn't get out. That's right. They want the record sealed. And they're paying a lot of people. Epstein's paying a lot of people. Oh, boy. For one, he's got a whole Mossad media matrix in America. And I would bet you anything that Alex Jones is one of them. Prove me wrong. That's right. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the portal. Cappy's in the building with songs about Epstein. It's Breakfast Jacket's Epstein edition. Guys, I had some epiphanies today. I had some real big epiphanies about some guys. A big network of guys and spies and lies and liars. All right, think about this for a minute, okay? The guy in Portland, the scientist that just got busted for producing CP, that guy is 1 degree of separation away from Epstein. Epstein, the investor that lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. I know a guy who lives in West Palm Beach, Florida as well. Investor as well. Also involved as well. And all is not well with these guys. The Florida boys, the Glow boys, the Scott Israels of the world. You see, Epstein is Hillary Clinton. And Epstein is Haiti. And Epstein is a big network of media assets. By the way, did you know that Steve Bannon was going to that guy for money? Also, Epstein is Epstein Oprah. Epstein is Chris Tucker. You remember him. Epstein is also Kevin Spacey. Epstein is also Prince Andrew. Epstein is also... Who else is Epstein? Who else is Epstein? Tell me. You guys know? Who else is Epstein? Is Epstein Big Pharma? Is Epstein Bryan Singer? Is Epstein Naomi Campbell? Yep, all of the above. All of the above. Who is Epstein? Epstein is the keystone of a whole motherfucking matrix. And once you pull it out, it all falls down. Dersh was there too. That's right, we're dropping red pills every day. Dropping red pills in the best kind of way. This is brackets and jackets for the denizens